Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, it's the August edition of Ag in the Courtroom with Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law. We'll also have updates from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, and the weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association, and market information from Pinion. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com. In agriculture news, U.S. farmland prices increased 12.4% over the last year. That according to new data out from USDA's National Ag Statistics Service. They have released the 2022 Land Values Summary, and this report shows that U.S. farm real estate value, which is a measurement of the value of all land on farms and buildings as well, averaged $3,800 an acre for 2022, up $420 per acre from 2021. The U.S. cropland value averaged $5,050 per acre. That's an increase of $630 an acre, or 14.3% from the previous year. And the U.S. pasture value averaged $1,650 an acre, an increase of $170 an acre. That's up 11.5% from 2021. Now you break that down into the Corn Belt region, cropland values increased 15.3% from $6,880 per acre in 2021 to $7,930 in 2022. New Jersey and California have the highest average cropland values. New Jersey, $15,900 an acre. That's up 7.4%. And California, $15,410 an acre, up 11.2% from a year ago. America's beef exports remaining on a red-hot pace during June, topped $1 billion for the fifth time this year. Data compiled by the U.S. Meat Export Federation also shows that pork exports stayed below last year's total during June. The monthly beef export reached 130,600 metric tons, down slightly from the record volume that was posted back in May, but up 16% year over year and the fourth largest on record. June's export value was $1.05 billion, slightly down from the May record, but 31% higher than what we saw last year. Beef export value through the first 6 months reached $6.19 billion. June's pork exports totaled 219,100 metric tons, 8% lower than last year. The value, $649.9 million. First half pork exports, 18% below last year, valued at $3.62 billion, 16% lower than 2021. And USDA's Economic Research Service shows that in 2020, U.S. farms sold almost $10.7 billion of food commodities directly to consumer outlets and supply chains. This includes restaurants, grocery stores, regional distributors, and local institutions. The figure is nearly $2.8 billion, or 30% more that was sold in 2019. So from 2019 to 2020, sales at farmers markets and restaurants, as well as grocery stores, increased by 11 and 13% respectively, whereas sales at farm stores, those community-based supported agriculture and other direct-to-consumer channels, increased by 79%. Now, sales to regional distributors increased by 73%, and sales to local institutions declined by 86% in 2020. Likely because of closures or restricted operations due to COVID. That's Ag News. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law will join us when we return.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And it's time once again for our monthly conversation with Dr. Roger McEowen, who is a tax and ag law specialist at the Washburn School of Law. Good morning, Dr. McEowen.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Couple of big issues we want to talk about. First is we've been kind of watching what's going on in the Senate. As they say, legislation, don't ever give up because it might come back and it may be a different form, but this Build Back Better situation going through the Senate, a lot of agriculture is lauding it, but there's a lot of pieces to this, over 700 pages.
Yeah, there is. And it's supposed to go to the parliamentarian in early August, and by the time people see this, we may actually have a bill. But you're right. In late July, Senator Manchin did announce that he could support it, which is important because this is going to get wrapped in a reconciliation package, and it can pass on a simple majority in the Senate. And so, if all of the Republicans oppose it in an equally divided Senate, then you have to have every Democrat to support it. And the one person that's still out there is Kristen Sinema, who also did not support the broader bill in the Senate last year. Actually, it was a streamlined version that passed the House that went to the Senate and still didn't get either of their support. So she could sink the whole thing. And this has, I would say, one major provision in the time that we have to focus on that could be a substantial tax increase for many farmers and ranchers. I'm primarily focused on the net investment income tax, which is that additional 3.8% tax on passive sources of income that came in under Obamacare. And this bill would extend that to active trader business income in addition to passive income. So basically on all of your income, it's an additional 3.8% tax. The way this is computed is it's based on AGI. And farmers that are not corporations also have, under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, a 20% deduction for qualified business income. It's the QBI deduction. That QBI deduction is not part of the taxpayer's AGI computation. And so what I mean by that is AGI is not reduced by the 20% QBI. AGI is computed before we compute the Q. But long story short, what this means is when you apply the 3.8% tax to your business income, it will also reduce your QBI deduction. There are certain types of farming operations that get a greater QBI deduction than other types. Those in particular are dairy operations. All of their income, typically the past few years, has qualified for the QBI deduction. It's not capital gain income, it's ordinary income. And that'll qualify for that 20% deduction. That's going to get cut by this. And I've played around with a few, just mocked up a few tax returns of dairy operations, ones that I've worked with in recent years. This could be anywhere from a tax increase for them of $15,000 to $25,000 per year.
Wow. Wow. All right. That's one of the things we want to talk about. We're going to take a quick break. We're talking with Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law. We're back with more in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
And Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law is joining us for our monthly conversation, that is. And the other issue we want to talk about is dicamba drift, and ongoing litigation.
Yeah, this is, of course, been in the news for about the past 5 or 6 years. So we've had a lot of drift cases involving dicamba, and dicamba is not new in and of itself. I mean, it was introduced in 1967 is when it was first registered as a broad spectrum herbicide. Of course, there have been modifications to it over the years, and that's what's precipitated some of the litigation in terms of its volatility and whether there's been comparable seeds that can match the type of dicamba that's out there. And that's cutting through a lot of the background on this. But there's been over 100 lawsuits involving dicamba. There's been class action litigation, but there's a peach farm in Missouri. In fact, it's Missouri's largest peach farm that stayed out of that litigation because most of that damage with respect to dicamba has been with respect to soybeans and cotton. And this is a peach farm. So they were a little bit unique. They went out on their own. They did win a jury verdict of $15 million in compensatory damages and $250 million in punitive damages. The trial court judge reduced the punitive down to $60 million, and then the case went on appeal. Most recent development on this, Ken, is that in early July, the United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit upheld the $15 million compensatory damage award for the farm, but eliminated entirely the punitive damage award. However, remanded back to the trial court for a recomputation of the punitive damages. They wiped it out because they felt that the trial court did not compute it properly. So the appellate court did not say that punitive damages should not apply. They just said the trial court computed it incorrectly. They did their math wrong. So they have to go back and do that. So it'll be somewhere between 0 and 60 million would be my guess.
So the situation like that, and with inflation and so on, the way the economy is that one of the factors that would play something different, would go back to that time when, say, the injury happened?
You mean on the recalculation of the punitive damages? No, that was not at issue. You had multiple defendants in this case. You had Monsanto and you had BASF. Bayer bought Monsanto, so now it's Bayer BASF. And the trial court did not separate out and compute separately the punitive damages allocated. It should be allocated to each one. They just kind of lumped it all together. And the appellate court said, no, you got to go compute it separately. It's not an inflation issue. It's an issue of how they actually did compute the damages.
Well, Dr. McEowen, there's a lot more to talk about this issue, as well as what's going on with tax issues in Congress. So how can folks read more about it, learn more about all the things that you research?
On these two issues, I have blog articles up on my blog in late July. July 23 is the dicamba one. July 28 is the tax one. I threw in some other ag cases on that one, but we'll probably update it between the time that you and I are talking today and the time that this airs. There may be more posts there, and that's washburnlaw.edu/Walter. You can find the link to my blog down the left side of my homepage.
All right, Dr. McEowen, as always, look forward to talking with you next month.
Thank you, Ken.
Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law has joined us. We'll have more coming up in just a moment.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
So our Seed to STEM program is very much a teacher-run program, and the purpose of it is to enable science teachers, middle school through high school, to be able to teach about our corn industry, to focus on biotechnology, to teach about ethanol in the classroom, but it goes beyond just providing the curriculum. Really, we want to be able to provide the supplies as well. But the purpose is on teachers, equipping them with the equipment and the labs that they need to be able to teach about agriculture in their science classrooms.
The labs that are here that we're participating with are a great way to expand on the lessons that we use already. Helps to bring in ag science. It helps to develop further our curriculum in an urban setting, showing our students more than what they would typically see within the city limits, and also finding that real world application and developing that bigger picture, that grander understanding of the world.
One of the things that impressed me the most about this workshop was having the teachers who designed some of these lab activities present them and explain the process of how they developed the activities and developed the labs. And then the conversation about how to extend those. And so having that conversation with the teachers that developed them was really, really impressive.
Being a science teacher in the public school system, being provided with the supplies, I'm going to be more likely to teach the lessons. Funding is a huge limitation for all of us in the classroom, and some of the supplies are rather costly, especially to be able to deliver to nearly 100 students. So just being afforded that allows for me to actually implement the lessons.
The supplies that we receive from the workshop are very valuable to me. I teach in a very small school district, and some of these supplies are somewhat expensive. So to be able to incorporate them in a larger scale in my small school with a smaller budget is difficult to do. So to be able to not only do the activities hands-on, but to leave with the materials to do it right away in my classroom as quickly as possible is very valuable.
You have to get here. You have to come to these workshops, see what they have to offer. It's going to open your mind to a new way of delivering content standard instruction that we're all hoping to become better at.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas Wheat hosted WheatRx in Phillipsburg and Garden City on August 9th and 10th. The seminars cover topics like suggested wheat variety selection, capturing value for high-quality wheat, managing soil fertility, fungicides, intensive wheat management, and keeping the value of wheat in the production chain. Speakers included Romulo Lulato, Lucas Hag, Alan Fritz, Peter Tomlinson, all from K-State, and Brian Arnold from Oklahoma State. The Phillipsburg event was a condensed version because after lunch, Amber Wave, the wheat protein plant, was hosting a ribbon cutting, and all attendees of WheatRx were invited. Amber Wave is now the largest wheat protein plant in North America. These seminars are in conjunction with Kansas Wheat and K-State Research and Extension to disseminate the latest research recommendations for high-yielding and high-quality wheat to farmers. Be sure to follow Kansas Wheat on social media and on our website to find out more about future events like WheatRx.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hello, my name is Melissa Hildebrand Reed, and I'm Operations Manager of Hildebrand Farms Dairy. And today I want to touch a little bit about sustainability. And I'm coming to you here in our pasture. These are my milking girls. We allow them to go out to pasture and to take a break from the building if they so need to. I will say that we caught them on a good day. So when it's nice, sunny, and the weather is perfect like it is today, you're gonna catch them out here taking a break in the sun, soaking up the vitamin D that they can push through in that milk. But we also have great facilities, and those facilities are huge because just like trying to get kids out on a really hot or cold day, they like to be indoors. They like their sand for bedding. They have individual beds. They also like their feed bunk that's plentiful of feed 24/7, as well as continuous water source. So for us, when we think of sustainability, we think of three parts, and that's environmental, creating our farm to last for the future, and also our girls and making sure that they're healthy and well. And a big part of that, being on a dairy farm, is making sure that we stick to a strict schedule with milking, and that we also make sure and take care of their needs, because as a milking cow, they are very much athletes in their own right, and they need great feed, great water source, and they have to be milked twice a day. So as we think to the future and we're constantly thinking about how we can grow as a farm, it's with them in mind and very much with a focus on taking care of the cows. I have a great team of employees that help make that happen, and I think they're pretty happy as a result.
To learn more about sustainability on the farm, visit KansasLivingMagazine.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
The Food and Energy Security Act was introduced last month by Senator John Thune of South Dakota. The bill would require federal regulators to disclose how proposed rules would impact food and energy prices. Additionally, it would prohibit federal regulators from implementing any rule that would increase food or energy prices if inflation is higher than 4.5%. Since the start of 2022, inflation has consistently been over 7%, hitting a 4-decade high in June of 9.1%. If passed, this new legislation would prevent the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission from implementing their broad climate rule proposed earlier this year that would require publicly traded companies to disclose their direct energy and electricity and supply chain greenhouse gas emissions. By requiring the inclusion of supply chain emissions, cattle producers who provide beef to publicly traded processors, restaurants, and retailers would be subject to these overreaching regulations. According to National Cattlemen's Beef Association Environmental Counsel Mary Thomas Hart, the producer organization supports the Food and Energy Security Act because rules like the SEC's emissions disclosure mandate add a costly burden to cattle producers, rural communities, and consumers across the country. NCBA submitted technical comments in opposition to the rule, and individual cattle producers sent more than 7,400 letters to the SEC commissioners and members of Congress.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Mitch Dewar here with Pinion Risk Management. The corn market bulls are pointing towards the deteriorating crop conditions and the Chinese buying starting to pick up. The 200-day moving average has been a point of resistance that the December contract has not been able to close over since July 30th. Most of the trade is thinking we will be below trendline yield, but the question is how much. The demand story moving forward is definitely of concern as the trade questions if exports, ethanol, and feed demand will be decreased. Soybeans have been on a volatile ride with the hot and dry forecast ahead, and then the issues with Taiwan and the Chinese. We saw futures receive pressure when Speaker Pelosi traveled to Taiwan and Chinese military actions. For now, it seems as things have settled as Chinese military exercises have come to a halt and we have an increase of soybean sales to China. The trade will continue to watch weather, demand, and crude oil price closely as we move through the month of August. The wheat market has consolidated and traded a much tighter range than corn and beans. The dollar has broke off the highs, which should add support to the wheat market, but the bears are pointing towards a larger Russian crop, bushels starting to move out of Ukraine, and a larger spring wheat crop here domestically. If you would like to discuss the grain or livestock markets, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Mitch Dewar with Pinion Risk Management.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us at KansasAgReport.net or our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Are you looking for Medicare supplement insurance plans? Now is a good time to look at your options with Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans. A Medicare supplement insurance plan can help cover certain out-of-pocket expenses Medicare doesn't cover. Things like deductibles, co-insurance, and certain limitations that can be costly in the event of an accident or illness. With Kansas Farm Bureau Health Plans, you have options to Medicare supplement insurance plans with 4 levels of affordable coverage and service from an organization known for its commitment serving Kansans. We encourage you to compare our rates. For more information and to get a quote, contact a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent near you or visit kfbhealthplans.com. Medicare supplements insured by Members Health Insurance Company, Columbia, Tennessee. Not connected with or endorsed by the U.S. or state government.